If you're here to learn how to paint better, this is not the video for you. There are a lot of other videos in our channel about this, so you can go and check them if you didn't already. But if you're here to paint faster, then you are in the right spot. I made an experiment. I tried to paint a model in an hour or a little less and see how it went. So if you bear with me, you will see the process and the explanation. I used a new type of inks that in Kimera we created, and they are on Kickstarter coming up right now if you are catching this video in the beginning of May. So I'll put the link in the description so you can check that one and then check the result in this video. But first of all, put a like on this video and a subscription because it will help us tremendously with the algorithm. So please give a like and then I'll explain what I did. Let's go! I start out from a black and white base and I'm using the Velvet Ink white. That is a very strong white, not super covering since it's an ink. And with this white I just increase some areas of light to be used later in a covering way with the other inks. So I'm just increasing a little bit some light areas. Super easy, you don't have to dilute it much and you increase the lightness. Simple as that. Sometimes I dilute it more if I want to reach a little bit of smoother transitions, just with water. They are always diluted with just water, not anything fancy at all. The extra white in this moment will allow for more lightness later when you glaze with your inks on top. At this point I picked the tomato color to see if it works well as a red light. I started very diluted because I wasn't sure the level of coverage. I never done speed painting really in this way, so I'm trying for the first time with you and see how it goes. So I see that it's too diluted right now. I mean, it would work very well, but it takes time because it takes time to dry. So I decided to go more heavy-handed and I picked this carmine. It's the label is wrong because we changed the name later, but in the colors that you will find is going to be listed as carmine. And at that point I put it in the shadow area, in the black area. And I started to be a little bit more dense, less diluted. And I just go and cover basically everything. You don't need to be too careful because the zenithal priming will already help you. I put the tomato in the white areas and the darker one in the shadow area. I do a couple passages each to get a little bit more coverage. These are still semi-transparent anyway, so the darkness will show and the lightness will show in any case. So you can decide how slow you want to be. More diluted, more slow, and it's also more precise and beautiful. But if you want to go fast, just slap it on top. And who cares? It's going to be nice in a game, in a war game. As you may notice, I call this video with no skill because I'm really not being careful in anything and not applying any color theory, nothing. Just lighter color in the lighter areas, darker color in the darker areas, and Not much precision, nothing. I'm just slapping it on top. The dark brown, we called it smoke in the end. I mixed it a little bit with red for the red shadows. It's a very dark brown and it's very useful for shadows, armor and stuff like that. So I did a little bit of a mix, but you might even not mix and use it as it is. Now I picked the rich gold and the parchment because I wanted to do a little mix that was less yellow than just the rich gold to have a cream effect over white. See, very diluted, you get this creamy color that in the shadow is still very dark. I added a little bit of white to make it lighter. The white also helps with coverage, so if you ever want these inks to cover more, you mix a little bit of the velvet white and you are okay. While painting, I was also trying to time myself because I didn't want to paint for more than an hour, really. I wanted to see how good it can be for gaming, just an hour a model, so that you may have an army very fast. I struggled a little bit later with the metallic paints because I don't use them much and they were all split and they didn't cover. So I lost a little bit of time there, but if you have decent metallics, you'll go super fast. I made it even lighter to put some extra light on some parts. Because I wanted to replicate the color scheme by Games Workshop, so this needed to be a little lighter than what I did. So I added more white and just went over. I didn't care too much about blending, but it's very easy to blend with this color if you want. Just you go more diluted in the transition areas and they will almost blend for you, especially if you have white in the mix. Of course, this white, this ink white. I increased some shadows, made some separations, but I wasn't trying to be super thin. I was just trying to separate some armor parts from the others, and it will look very good on a tabletop anyway. You don't have to be hyper precise. But of course, if you want to spend a little bit more time, with a second hour you can pick up all the edges and all the shadows and it will look very good at that point. Now I put some black ink in the palette and I did the dark armor, that is a black armor. Color very diluted so that the white will show a bit more. You need more than just one passage at that point when you are super diluted, but it's easy and fast. Also the color will go in the recesses naturally when it's very diluted. And this gives this type of paint a lot of versatility because you can be very strong and very saturated if you don't dilute them, or the opposite if you dilute them and do washes that go in the recesses. I really am not trying to be precise or anything. I wanted to put the least amount of effort possible. It was a fun experiment in the end to see how I would do in such a constraint. Also, if you go very dark in the shadows, they will look okay, and you spend the minimum amount of time at that point on your model. Kimera brushes. They are Kolinsky Sable, super high quality, new shapes, especially made for painting miniatures. They are super good, try them, link in the description. Yeah, I used the metallics from Vallejo. They were so split. I mixed some inks inside to give them a bit more power. So in this case it was a gunmetal. If you have a new one, these were super old. So it's nothing against the brand actually, because I really like these metallics, but I mistreated them a bit too much. So it's a gunmetal, and I used it as a metallic base, mixed with a little bit of ink to give it more depth. And now I use the chrome as a light for the metal. I went in to darken a little bit more the shadows in the black armor with some black after everything was dry. And with the smoke I tint the armor a little bit at this point to make it more alive. With the dark colors I pick out some separations and some little details to make it look a touch more refined. It's not that needed, but if you do it, it's better. To do the gold, I just covered in chrome the various parts, and then I will glaze them with the rich gold that I have in the palette to transform the color. So if you like a gold paint, well, you can use a silver paint and be okay with an ink like this. See, I'm diluting it, going over the various parts, making it goldish, and then increase again the lights with the metallic, so that the metallic look is restored. In this case I use the rich gold, that is a color for warm golds, but you can also do it with the green gold to do a cold gold, so you can choose. I did a brown mix for the ropes and feathers with everything I had in the palette. I didn't want to complicate this too much. I just used what I had there in the palette and that's all. In the end, if you want to keep it simple, you just pick 3 or 4 colors and you go with them. I also decided to pick a very difficult model with a lot of details to see how I would do in an hour. Now I did an extra little thing. I created a lighter gray to increase the lightness on some parts of the model, as you can see in the shoulder pad, to give it a little bit more light. I'm not caring too much about blending, I'm just placing it. But I'm sure you can achieve a similar looking model with a similar amount of time without any skill, because I really didn't do much here. Really didn't. I increased the light of the red with mixing a little bit of white with the tomato and a bit of rich gold to preserve some orange, to do some extra light point, as you can see. Again, these passages are not that needed, so you may want to skip them, but they give an extra nice effect, an extra care. And yeah, that's basically it. I think everyone can achieve this. Okay, and here's the result. If you liked it and you want to try with our inks to do this type of work, the link is in the description, in the Kickstarter, the Velvet Kickstarter. You will also find other stuff like brushes, tutorials, busts, there are a lot of things, and the inks tool to do this type of work. So if you liked it, I hope to see you there. It will help us grow as a company, and thank you for watching it. See you until the next time. Bye!